Folks, it is Mrs. Johnson with the Agro Wisdom channel again, on a Thursday, late at night, because that is when I have time. We are talking about germination rates, also called germination percentages today, and how to calculate those. This is also how you calculate percentages kind of in general. And I also did a video on that, but we're going to talk specifically about germination rates today. So what exactly is a germination rate? Germination rate is the number of seeds that turn into plants after planting. Specifically, the average number out of 100, hence the reason why it's a percentage, because percentages are always like numbers out of 100. That's why they go to the hundreds place in decimal form. Let's see. What else? What is germination rates useful for? Well, it's useful for calculating the amount of seed that you need on a large scale. So like the videos that I'm doing about my backyard garden come spring 26, those I'm doing based off seed packets because most of the things that I'm planting, I only want, like 6 tomato plants. I only want like a dozen bean plants. I'm not terribly worried that a seed packet is going to have enough seed in it for that. Most seed packets, like that you buy at the grocery store or the hardware store or the plant store, like the little paper packets, like those are going to have more than enough for what I'm using them for in the spring. But I'm also looking into reseeding like my yard and my potentially the family pasture, and things like that, where I'm gonna require like several pounds of seed potentially. Or if I was growing a couple acres of alfalfa or corn or something, I would want to take into consideration the germination rate because, and I'll show you, but because it can change how much you need to buy, um, and how much you should buy to be safe enough to plant a field. So let's talk about it. Flip my little thing around so I can type or write a little easier. Let's do some examples of germination rates. And fix my camera. Jeez. Examples of germination rates. So let's start with that tomato example. Let's say I wanted 8 plants, and the way stores, or not stores, seed companies calculate germination rates, they actually go in and they plant a bunch of seed, right? And they plant a bunch of stuff, and they do this several thousand times. And let's say they planted a bunch, and some of them didn't germinate, some of them didn't come up from the ground once they were planted, and some of them did. Because we're talking about living things when we talk about seeds, and so sometimes seeds don't make it. And germination rate calculates that, of what amount don't make it and what amount do, because it can be important. So in the really quick example that I just drew, 2 did not make it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 made it. And so we're going to turn that into a fraction first and foremost. And I'm going to change colors. So we're going to turn that into a fraction. 5 plus 2 equals 7. And we're talking about germination rate here. So we're talking about the successful number of plants that we have. So we would go 5 successes out of 7 total. which is equal to, time for my handy dandy calculator, because I did not prepare this at all. 5 divided by 7. 5 divided by 7 is 0.714. 2. So we have fraction, we have decimal, and we need to go 2%. How do we go 2%? We times this number by 100. That moves the decimal place 2 places. And so our percent is 71.4% germination. Ta-da! Look, we did it. And so this is fairly simple to calculate forwards once you know what you're doing, because it is right off the steps. 1, plant things. 2, count plants. 3, divide plant seeds. And total seeds. So where does that take us? So we plant seeds, right? Step 1. And then we count the plants. Counted the plants. Then we divided the plants by the total seeds. That step. We made it a fraction. Number 4. Multiply by 100 to get germination rate, 71.4%, which is up there. I do apologize for the messy handwriting. It's not very easy to write on an old laptop. So my laptop's been with me for like 4 or 5 years now. So she's kind of old. Don't judge me, okay? I was a pro college kid when I bought her. Just graduated, okay? Anyway. So that's how we calculate it. If we're gonna go the way the company is gonna go about calculating it. So why is that important for us to know? Let's say that's important because we need to know this math in order to kind of go backwards in the math, figure out how many seeds we need. So why is it important? It's important. Why is it important? Because we need to know seeding rates. Because seeding rates. Ta-da. It's important because seeding rates. Let's talk about why. Let's say I'm going to throw random numbers out here. Please don't quote me on these numbers because, again, I jumped into this prepared because I know how to do math and I haven't done it for a field or a farm or anything in a hot minute. So, let's say we've got 7 acres. We've got 7 acres that need to be seeded. And we need to seed I don't know, 6 pounds per acre of alfalfa to reseed, right? Um, so if we have a germination rate, a lot of seed companies are now reaching like 80, 90, 95%. So we'll go 90% germination rate, right? Why is this important, right? If we need to seed 6 pounds per acre and we want all 6 pounds to take, we want it very thoroughly seeded. Now, some seed companies account for that germination rate, some don't. It's good to check with the company when they recommend seeding rates. But let's talk about it. 6 pounds for 7 acres. 6 times 7 is how many pounds total? Let me check. I should know this math. It's been a while since I've done math in my head. I also can't see pictures in my head, so fun fact. Makes mental math hard. 42 pounds. Pasture. So we have 42 pounds for the whole pasture. Now, if we seed just the 42 pounds, we know that 90% of that is going to take. So we can multiply 42 times 90 to get 37.8 lbs pounds that actually go that grow. Now, we could take that risk. We could go, okay, we're not going to graze it very heavy. Alfalfa will come back. It's a perennial plant. We're not going to graze it heavy the first couple of years. It'll be okay, right? Or you might go, well, I definitely need this to take sooner rather than later. Let's make sure that I seed all 6 pounds, all of the 6 pounds prescribed, rather than the 90% of 6 pounds prescribed. And I'll show you how to do that because our golden number, let me change colors really fast. Our golden number, golden ticket, 42 pounds per acre, or 42 pounds per pasture, 6 pounds per acre. So we want to try and hit that 6 pounds per acre. And right now, if we seed just 6 pounds per acre, we're getting 38 or 37.8 pounds. We're missing 2 pounds. And that's not terribly much, except for when you start getting bigger and bigger. Say you were doing 700 acres instead of 7 acres, and you'd be missing 200 pounds. You'd be missing 200 pounds of seed. 200 pounds of seed would not take. And that might be really important when you're working on a large scale instead of like the small 7 acre scale or the even smaller, like my backyard scale, where you have the luxury of being small enough that you can graze it in ways that, or use it in ways that it's a little more sustainable, lets that seed come back. But let's talk about how to actually get that 6 pounds per acre. So rather than multiplying by 9, we would divide by 9. Yes. We would divide by 0.09 by that germination rate in order to get a number that compensates for that 10% that doesn't seed, I think. Check. Yes, yes. Just did some math. I checked it. Okay, so if we divide 42 by 0.9, we would get 46.6 pounds in the pasture. And that, so the reason why I checked that, essentially what I did is I did 42 divided by 46.6 and got 0.9. Now, how did I fact check that? I fact checked that by doing this. Whoop. By doing that step. If I wanted 42 pounds of seed to actually grow, then I could divide the number that I found, this number, or divide 42 by that number and should get 0.9%, which is a germination rate. And I did, so ta-da. And you can kind of see the difference in those numbers. So if I just bought 42 pounds of seed at $1 a pound, I'm spending 42 bucks. If I'm spending 42 bucks to get 38 pounds out of the 42 that I just spent. If I wanted all 42, I'd need to spend the extra $5-ish to get all 42. Right? 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, right? If I round down and I just spend 42, I spent $6 on seed, that's not going to come. Now, if I round up just to be sure, and I want to make sure all 42 pounds that I need go to seed, and I buy the extra 4.6 pounds here, right? At $1 a pound, 46 minus 42 is $4. So I spent an extra $4 to make sure that my whole pasture gets seeded. Now that isn't always the case. It doesn't always work like that, where buying enough seed to make sure that all the seed comes up works. But that's just an example of why you would overseed, or why you would account for a germination rate. And without that, or without further ado, I'm gonna let you go. I hope you learned something. I hope we learned something, and I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you come on back. Leave me some comments, questions, concerns, all the things. And I talk to you on another day. Have a great day.